He leaned down so that his eyes were level with mine. I know you're too weak to talk much, but there's one thing I've got to know. Where's your brother, Josh? Where's Joey? Then it all came back like a big wave sweeping in. All the pain and the meanness that made me strike Joey, the rage in his eyes came back to me in his defiance. I remembered the slush that filled my shoes in the moment when I decided that I couldn't go any farther. I closed my eyes as the memory poured back. Tell me, Josh, that was Lonnie again. Tell me what happened, then we'll let you sleep again. The girl's voice was full of sympathy. He can't talk, Lonnie. Something is hurting him. Don't try to make him talk now. I have to know. I have to know right away. He walked over to the stove and ladled some soup into a bowl. Then he handed the bowl to the girl while he lifted my head. Here, I'll hold his head up. You feed him a little more soup. Maybe it will give him strength. The tightness in my throat overcame the hunger in me, and I tried to push the spoon away. But Lonnie was determined. Swallow this soup, Josh. It will make you feel better. Swallow it, I tell you, and make up your mind that you have to talk. And so I did. I swallowed some of the soup, which at another time I would have appreciated as being delicious. At that moment, though, it was tasteless. But Lonnie was right. It gave me strength almost immediately. When I was able, I told him enough of the story to let him understand what had happened. Lonnie interrupted now and then. He wanted to know if Joey had a cold like mine when he left. He asked about clothing. Did Joey have a warm coat? I told him about the overshoes, and that pleased him. At the end, I was so tired that I had to whisper the last sentence. I said, if Joey is gone for good, I don't want to live anymore. Lonnie was silent for a long time. I know, he said finally. Then he added in a voice that was suddenly different, very brisk and cheerful. But he's not gone for good. He's probably doing all right for himself. People can't resist Joey, and we'll find him if we have to take a fine-tooth comb to the state of Nebraska. He drew a shade down so that the room was in shadow. Go back to sleep now, Josh. You've got to get a lot of rest. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I believed him. My confidence in him and my weariness made me forget the despair for a while. I went off into a sleep that must have lasted for hours. When I opened my eyes again, the room was lighted dimly by a kerosene lamp on the table. The girl was gone, and Lonnie was sitting beside the stove, leaning forward with his head in his hands. When I called his name softly, he came over and sat beside me again. I feel better, Lonnie. Good. You'll come out of this. You must have an iron-plated constitution. I want to tell you. I won't stay long. I don't want to be a drag on you. You'll stay till you're good and well. That's the way I want it. Did you find another job, Lonnie? Yes, I was lucky. I'm not getting rich, but my family is eating. That's something these days. Is the girl your family? I remember that he'd spoken of a girl who should have called him Uncle Lonnie, but was too set in her ways. Yes, Janie's my niece. She's been with us since she was 4. Her parents were killed in an automobile accident. She and my mother, her grandmama, live next door. I look after them. They're all I have. She's a nice girl. I felt sorry about that first thought that called her homely. That's right, she's a good little kid. He straightened the covers over me and smoothed my pillow. She'll look in on you once in a while during the day when I'm gone, she and Grandma. They'll see that you get your medicine and are well fed. We didn't speak for a while. Then I asked what was foremost in my mind. Lonnie, do you think we'll find Joey? I'm pretty sure we will. He can't be too far away. It's only 3 days since we picked you up. He can't travel very far in 3 days. I notified the police this afternoon while you were asleep. They're looking for him in Omaha and Lincoln, and the smaller towns in this area too. We'll find him. That little squirt can't shake us like this. He's getting too big for his britches. He had a right to leave me, Lonnie. I was mean. I don't know what made me do it. But Joey didn't understand. He didn't know how sick I was. I guess not. Lonnie was looking at me thoughtfully. He nodded as if agreeing with some private thought. Then he slowly wound an alarm clock and prepared to go into his bedroom. Do everything you can to regain your strength, Josh, and don't worry. I'm going to find that boy for you. I lay awake for the rest of the night thinking about Joey, wondering and hoping. I wondered if the time would ever come when I could have a peace of mind again. Lonnie was gone when I woke up the next morning, but his mother came in and fixed breakfast for me, washed me, and gave me my medicine. She was kind, but a quiet and rather grim-looking old lady. I found that she was almost deaf, which made her seem more remote than she possibly was by nature. She left as soon as she had made me comfortable, and I was alone until Janie came over bringing a small radio with her. She looked different. She was still wearing the loose shirt and blue denim pants that must sometime have belonged to a boy, but her hair wasn't braided, as it had been the night before. It hung loose, tied back with a red ribbon. It looked nice, bright brown and bouncy with curls at the ends. Her cheeks were flushed when she said hello, and the soft color kind of played down the freckles. Actually, she looked pretty nice. She made me realize that I must look like a tramp, and at first I was self-conscious and embarrassed. She put the radio down on a table near my bed. I'm supposed to listen to Mr. Roosevelt's inaugural address. My civics teacher gave us this for an assignment. I thought maybe you'd like to hear it too. I'd forgotten about elections and presidents and inaugurations. For months I hadn't thought about much of anything except where we'd find food for the next meal, where we'd be able to sleep without freezing. I didn't for one minute suppose that anything happening in Washington, D.C. might in any way affect my problems. But this was the 4th of March, 1933, and I was willing to listen to anything that would take my mind off of Joey for the moment. The announcer was describing the scene in Washington. When Janie tuned in the station, the day was gray and bleak out there, he told us, but in spite of the chill wind, there were nearly 100,000 people on the streets and the grounds around the Capitol. It was a crowd of tired and grim faces. I could well believe that. A crowd amazingly quiet for such a huge gathering.